What if your city could actually think? It sounds like something straight out of science fiction, right? But it's a reality being built all around us, right now. So today, we're going to dive into the world of smart cities and see how they're not just changing our maps, but our entire way of life.
So let's circle back to that question. Can your city think? I know, it sounds a little weird, but that question, it gets right to the heart of this whole revolution. See, our cities are evolving. They're becoming so much more than just a bunch of concrete and steel. They're actually developing a kind of intelligence.
For centuries, we've pretty much seen cities as just the backdrop for our lives, right? A place to live, a place to work. But that whole idea is being completely turned on its head. We're talking a massive transformation, and it's all being driven by this invisible web of technology that connects, pretty much every part of our world now.
So what we're really seeing is this fundamental shift. Cities aren't just these passive backgrounds anymore. Nope. They're becoming these complex, interconnected ecosystems. And the engine behind all of this, it's technology. And it's setting brand new standards for our quality of life, for what we can and should expect from the places we call home.
Okay, so this brings us to the big question. We hear this term smart city thrown around all the time, but what does it actually mean?
All right, so at its core, a smart city is all about using a toolkit of modern tech. You've got the Internet of Things, or IoT, which is really just a fancy way of saying we're connecting everyday objects to the Internet. Then you bring in AI, which is like the brain that helps make sense of all the information those objects are collecting. And big data, that's just the massive amount of information we're talking about. But here's the key. The goal isn't just to be futuristic for the sake of it. Not at all. It's about using all that tech to make the city work better for you, for me, for everybody living in it.
Okay, so the theory is cool and all, but let's see what this actually looks like in the real world, right? Let's go on a quick world tour and check out some of the planet's smartest cities to see these ideas in action.
And what's so fascinating when you look at these cities is that there's no one-size-fits-all approach. You've got Singapore with this huge top-down smart nation platform that integrates basically everything. Then you jump over to Helsinki, and they are just laser-focused on one massive goal, becoming carbon neutral. And then there's a city like Barcelona doing amazing things from the ground up, like smart streetlights and garbage cans that know when they're full. It's really cool. Each city's kind of finding its own unique path.
Let's just zoom in on Singapore for a minute, because this is wild. Their Smart Nation initiative is like a masterclass in how to integrate everything. They've connected pretty much every city service you can think of, traffic, utilities, you name it, onto a single platform. And the result? They've managed to cut energy use by a whopping 30%. That's a real, tangible impact.
And hey, it's not just the cities in the top 5 making huge moves. You got to look at Dubai. They are pushing the absolute limits of digital government. That 90%, that's how many of their government services are now completely digital. Think about that. Paying your bills, renewing a license, it all happens online. It just makes daily life so much easier.
Okay, so we've seen what a smart city is, and we've seen a few examples out in the wild. But how do you actually build one? What are the key ingredients, the building blocks, that make a city truly smart?
Well, it really comes down to 4 essential pillars. Think of it like a recipe. First, you need the technological infrastructure. This is your foundation, the networks, the AI, all that stuff. Once you've got that backbone, you can really start tackling environmental sustainability. And with that data and those green goals in place, then you can start rolling out really smart services like intelligent public transit. But, and this is so important, none of it works without that final ingredient, community engagement. A smart city has to be a conversation, a partnership with the very people who live there.
Okay, now as amazing and futuristic as all this sounds, we've got to be realistic for a second. The road to becoming a smart city is, it's not easy. It's actually filled with some pretty big hurdles.
And these challenges are no joke. First off, the cost. Building out all of this new infrastructure is just enormous. Then you have the privacy issue. With more sensors, more cameras, more data being collected, we have to ask some really serious questions about privacy and surveillance. There's also the very real danger of a digital divide, leaving behind people who aren't as comfortable with technology. And last but not least, just imagine the headache of trying to mesh brand new, cutting-edge systems with infrastructure that might be decades or even a century old. It's a huge, huge challenge.
But despite all those challenges, there's a reason we're pushing forward. The goal, the potential payoff is just too big to ignore. So what does the future of city life actually look like if we can get this right? When all those pieces finally click into place, the promise is, it's huge. We're talking about a quality of life like we've never seen before. Real, actual environmental sustainability, and an incredible level of efficiency that saves everybody time, money, and hassle. At the end of the day, it's about creating cities that truly work for us and for the planet too.
And that really brings us to the most important point of all. I want to leave you with this quote, because I think it perfectly sums everything up. The real smart city isn't the one with the newest technologies, but the one that makes those technologies work for every citizen. It's just such a powerful reminder that people, we have to be at the absolute center of this whole tech revolution.
So I'm going to turn the question back to you. After seeing everything that's possible, which of these cities would you most want to visit? And more importantly, why? What's the one thing that really stood out to you? I'd love for you to think about that. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.